People, welcome back to the Dude live stream. So, today is going to be a very special day. Like I've never said that before. I'm going to show you what I do as a daily routine to improve my craft. Now, you know how some of these guys go on when they're always announcing the thing of the week here, which is this is the most exciting thing you're ever going to see. And they say it with a huge smile on their face. Well, I don't smile that much. But I do intend to deliver as much information as I possibly can. And that's what the little announcement said on the title card for YouTube. So that's exactly what we're going to do: deliver what we actually promised here. And here's what we're going to do here. We're going to show you the sketchbooks as I do as a matter of improving, charcoal studies, the books that I look at for inspiration and to learn more, and what I copy from. And then I have a lot of folders of my favorite illustrators and other people that I just think are great artists that I learn from and are inspired by all the time. Watercolor practice. Watercolor is the final frontier to me. It is the most difficult medium that you can ever use because of its elusive qualities, which we're going to be getting into a little bit later on. Animation. You guys know all about my great goal in life to get my animated Nexus cartoon on the air so far, which has not happened, but I continue to work at it, and I'll show you what I do to work at it and continue to have so much fun working on it. I'm going to show you illustrations that I've got half done so you can see my working process. These are all things that I do kind of on a freelance basis for myself, just to keep what I call fighting trim and self-improving all the time by just doing personal works just for myself. So we're going to start with the sketchbooks. You guys know I'm kind of big on my sketchbooks. And this is one of the many, many things that I've done here. Some of you have seen these very pages in the past here. But this is what I do compulsively. And I mean compulsively, just to, for whatever reason. Who can understand the compulsive nature of the artist? But these are all things I copy from other people. Or if I look at them, I get inspired by. Something like this right here is just a hand study from a mirror, which I do a lot of for my illustrations. You can never get enough buttocks practice here. Lots of little things. Here's Loomis studies. I've been studying Loomis since I was 18. No, make it 13. I do a lot of things like this right here, where I talk about thoughts that are in my mind that I want to chronicle for posterity when I'm long gone, which is, of course, an impossible thing to imagine, and yet it happens to others. It'll probably happen to me. Lip practice. You can never get too good at mouths. Mouths are very elusive things. If you don't understand the mechanics of mouths, can you zoom in on that right there to see exactly? Okay, good. So we have zooming capacity going on here. And you can see all the things that make a smile work. Because smiles are tough. And if they were easy, everyone would do a really good smile. But it's basically based on mechanics of the teeth where they are in the skull, the fact that the jaw can go up and down and back and forth. And then there's the lips. They wrap over the roundness of the teeth. And then you get these 1,000,000,001 expressions that people are capable of. What else do we have? More head studies. You can never get too good at heads, which is why I do them. More Loomis stuff right there. More notes to myself. Notes about authors that are great that shouldn't be, and why. I got back to head basics right here. I have to re-practice these all the time. I get to a point where my memory is just a little hazy on these things, and I need to reacquaint myself with basics. Because as you know, guys, it's all about basics. Kirby's Dr. Doom. Here's a little study in paint of a girl's skirt that was taken from an illustration that I liked. And I love the blockiness of it and the overstrokes of the dark colors over the light. So I really like that. Dr. Doom is smiling at the whole thing. This is kind of neat. This is from a fine art painting of some guy from the 1800s, which is always my preference. Here's a breakdown of how I got what I got. So I'm kind of teaching myself all the time about how I do things. I don't know where this is from right here, but this is done in casein. I've been getting into casein. Casein was a real big thing throughout many centuries, and then it was revived in the 1950s. A lot of guys were using it as a matter of trend to bring back caseins, and then now we have a new manufacturer of casein brought back, I believe, in the original formula that it is. The thing I like most about casein is its smell, because if it didn't have a perfume added to it, it would stink. Lions, how many more lions can you ever do here? Watercolor practice, how to figure things out. More Loomis studies, more notes to myself. Well, look at that. Can you believe that? More Loomis? So on and on it goes, on and on and on. Kirby studies. I try to reinterpret Kirby studies in ink. This is just some illustration that I saw that, actually, it's one of mine. A Tarzan illustration. And I did a little color rough in watercolor to figure out how the tones would work and if it was readable and it was dynamic and something was different about it that everyone else does, and more notes to myself. So now we move on to the charcoal studies. And this is going to be, this is what I do to practice charcoal right here. And I'm really having a good time with this. I'm actually trying to adapt the quick study mentality to my charcoal studies. Now, one thing I always hated about quick sketch, as it's known in the art schools, is I couldn't stand the pressure of having to think more about time than quality. So I abolished that. I just made up my own rules. I stopped worrying about the clock and just did it in a way that I would comprehend what I was doing in the same way that you're supposed to under the time crunch. So that's when these all came about here. And these are done from various magazine illustrators. And here's where I really got out the books on the models right here from the various model photography books that I have, and treated them as though I had a live model in front of me. So that's where all of these came from. Cool, huh? They started out like this, and they got a little more involved because I realized I needed to go into the tonal parts of it to soak that up. And that's really what these kept on evolving right here into more and more detailed things. I love it when it creases like that. So what happens when you do these repetitions, these deliberately thought out, focused repetitions, is that you get this, we've all heard of this muscle memory thing. Well, this is exactly what I'm able to draw on when I don't have any reference in front of me. I have a 40-year storehouse of mental repetition that has somehow stuck on my head. And through that, I'm able to do figures that almost look as good as this right here. Sans the lighting. I really need help with the lighting. That can almost look as good as something that you're copying from a photo or from life. Here's the process right here. That's kind of half finished. You can see how I break things down. And I don't know if you want to see this now or later, but we might as well just do it now right here. I'm going to tape this up right here and show you how I actually go about doing this right here. So you see that, and let's get my charcoal pencils out here, of which I have numbered for this such an occasion. So we're going to show you how I go about using these studies to my advantage here. See how that goes so far? We have this directional line. We have the torso and the on the pelvis part kind of as one unit, but it swings as a whole. It swings as a whole. And then from here, you directionally indicate where things are going. You just look at how the direction of the things are going, the limbs, and then you, with one long line, try to get down the essence of what you're working with here. And from this is where I build up my things. I've often told you that people have this bizarre notion that you have to start with the head. Well, to my thinking, the head is really like the last place you should be putting on. It's the very top of the thing, and it affects things the least of all the things you're focused on. Let's get another pencil here. Let's get a really sharp one. That's going to help out. All these things come first. You know, first of all, if you're standing on the ground, I would think the feet would come first. So this is, again, Steve Rude thinking right here that no one else is going to tell you, because everyone else is going to say, start with the head. Well, I do that, but I've often rethought these things to realize the flaws in the thinking right there. If everything is dependent on how you're standing, then why not start with the thing that you stand on, your feet? So you got these long cursive lines, and you got these lines of beauty that go this way and that way, and all this kind of stuff. Everything has a gesture to it. The feet have a gesture to it. The arms, the head, everything has a gesture to it. Now to find this line right here, I'm going to bring it up to here and get this head in perspective. It's got an unusual perspective that you don't often see, but it's still the same head no matter what thing you view it from. It's funny how far down this nose goes when you're working from this angle right here. And these are also things, like everything else, you are hopefully accumulated in your vast storehouse of mental knowledge about things. And that's how us artists are able to do as much creation in our work as using the reference properly to get accurately done figures right here. And don't forget the old kneaded eraser, which is something that is always there to save the day for big blocks of tone. These are just plain fun. And if you don't have fun doing these right here, you might want to go back to 4-H and feeding cows. If anything's wrong, you modify it. There's that funny nose way down there again. There's a sternal muscle right there from the neck. Everyone knows that because everyone's got a muscle like that. The perspective is indicating very clearly the lines of the head. They're always round, no matter what the angle. So at least remember that as a part of your artistic arsenal. That's a good word, arsenal. I like that. And there's a little bit of rib lighting up here. You want to think in terms of, well, making it look good. I like to do a lot of things like this where I kind of go in there and remember that these forms have a roundness to them. Now, what kind of stupid hand is he pulling off there? That's going to be really hard to do. So we'll do a blocking right here so I can avoid doing it. The secret of hands, which I really love doing, is to do as much as you can a general blocking of the planes of the hand. And now, is it easy? Well, you tell me. This is why I love doing hands so much. What I hate about hands is all the intricate little things. If they're like this or like this, you know, it's a lot easier than this kind of stuff. You know, of course, you know. Oh, there's a little bit of a broader area right here. There's the old serratus muscles there that everyone likes to break. They know all about. All these little tiny dents in the light are, that's what we call the halftone stuff there. And here comes the buttocks. I'm told girls are big on these things. Oh, good, the pencil hasn't broken yet. If I see something that I know could be done a little better, I just quickly erase it. This tendon becomes very thin here. See a little reflected light going on right there, right here? Yeah, funny how light can seep around corners pretty well. Hound dog, is that you? Right on time. Everyone knows by now that Flowheart is a camera hog. She barks at everything, and because she's a half beagle. These contours, you really want to try to memorize those the best you can. And they're all based on the the exterior muscles of the body. All these shadows are revealing the forms of the anatomy here. I like long sweeping lines because they just look, they design the figure better than if you just copy the figure. So we kind of want to design things at the same time. So there's my block in. The reason we have lighting like this is to show the forms in a way that only light can reveal. These are very critical things that you have to remember here. Is the exact contours of all these muscles, the ins and outs, the thickness, and where it gets thinner, and all that kind of stuff. Look where things get a little softer, and look where they get much harder. These are very cut-out shadows right here, as they like to say. And if you really want to take it farther, you do what the photo has suggested here, which is darkening the background. It's going to look much different. Well, I'm going to get one of these bigger things here. This is a way to block this stuff in. This will make it a lot faster. This is what do they call this kind of charcoal? I don't know, but it's in a block form, okay? And it's different than working with a pencil kind of a thing. Merge your shadows that blend in with the light. Be careful with this area right here. That's why you have kind of a point on this charcoal stuff here. And then just go in and try to be careful going around the contours. All this Art Talk stuff. This hair actually only has a few telltale highlights to even indicate the form is there. Otherwise, it's pretty dark. But look what a difference this is going to make when I get this stuff down. When I get the darks where they're supposed to be. This is another very deliberate thing that the photographer has done here. Is to make these on a black background. It's not a random, haphazard kind of a thing. It's very deliberate. So you see how I use this stuff. You saw me blocking them with a pencil with the side of it. Well, this is nothing but one big, huge side here. In the areas where I went over the outside contours, that's what your eraser is for. Clean up his butt. I could do with little kids when they're being potty trained. And just clean up those things right there. Be very aware of the contours, how thick they are, thin they are, all that kind of stuff that artists tell you to do. So, I don't know what this is right here, but I'm just going to kind of leave it out. I don't think it looks good. But if I really darken these things in right here and mask the shadows in, that's when the eraser can really come in right here and give me that little touch of, it's either bounce light or it's some light is getting through on the underside there. So I put it in, then I'm going to modify it to reflect what the actual photograph is showing us. A little smearing for good luck, and you're all ready. I'm going to expand this contour right here because it doesn't look right. There's another thing that artists are trained, that train themselves to do is, I know the muscle has a little bit of a sweep down there. Okay, so there's Steve Root's drawing right there of a dancer in a photograph of models from the 1960s, mid-1960s. So we're going to move this aside. That's what I practice with charcoal right there. Charcoal is usually a forerunner for painting, for oil painting, or really any kind of painting, because you figure out all the forms by drawing them first in tone, and then even though it's in black and white, when you go to paint, you're just you're working with a different medium, and you're working with color. But charcoal, working with charcoal is the way that all artists throughout history have been taught to work out studies before you actually engage in a full-blown painting, which can be very complicated depending on how complicated it is. Next on my list, famous artist books. Have you guys seen these right here? These are the individual books that the artists, the 12 chosen faculty members did on their own right here. They all did a separate book. This one is on a guy that I've done previous things on. His name is Robert Fawcett, and that's not him. But here he is down here. This is the entire group right here. You've seen all these photos. They're very famous. Everyone's in there. Norm's up there with his incredible painting that beats everyone else out. There's Bob Fawcett right there. And he's actually working on this painting right here. Cool, huh? These things were published in the mid-1950s when these guys were these 12 illustrators were basically in their late 40s, early 50s. So I like to start off with a bunch of added photos here from the various files of these guys that show him at work. So there he is working on one of his, this is how he warms up in the morning right here. The studio I was actually at. This is the studio that got bought out by my great hero, illustrator Harry Anderson, after Fawcett died. Harry took it over, and I wouldn't want to have a studio there. For one thing, it's freezing in Connecticut, and I don't think the heating worked very well. But that house has been around for a long time. And there is the house right there. That's where I was when I met Harry Anderson. People say don't meet your heroes. I met every one of them, and it went just fine. So you can see all this. Oh, that's not very good. You can see all the stuff the guy did here that I've supplemented in my version of this right here. Sketches that go with the pictures that he did. See, these are all things that are preparatory things that artists do to get acquainted with what they're about to paint. And I'm an illustrator, so whatever you're called on to illustrate, that's what you do your prep work for. You take photos, you take shots of models, custom-made shots, or references of different kinds. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do it, and everyone works a little differently. Folders of favorite illustrators. Sargent, big folder on Sargent. Gino bought these really cool transparent folders for me, and then I just I put things in here to keep them all organized, because I am organized. Unlike a bunch of other artists that are incredible slobs. This is advice from Sargent right here, and how he went about his work. These are all things that artists like myself covet right here. And if you happen to put them in one folder, all the better. Let's bring out a few more Sargents here that are just remarkable. And I'll show you why I have these in here. This is one of the things I'm working on right now in oil paint is studies of heads. And that is the lack of intricate detail. It's just one big like egg shape. These guys were proven masters of this right here. This is the essential block-in of what all these guys did before they went into detail. They would get the big masses done first, accurately in proportion, and then once they got that down, then they would go into little things more and more. The big things to the little things. And then you just work in more and more, and you get more of the intricate tones that make up the parts of the face. The nostrils, the eyebrows, all that kind of stuff. These are very simply done heads, but they're mastered. They're done by a master artist, and that's why we like them. This one is especially remarkable. Good, my spider abilities caught that in midair. Look at how simple that one is. It's all there. You can see that it's all there, and there's no detail. There's no actual half tones. There's no subtle little things within his face. It's one big mass of shadow, or darker light, as I call it, and the light part of the face, and it's all there. The things you would need to finish this painting would be minimal if you knew what you were doing, and that's why we do all this practice. So we'll say goodbye to Sargent for right now. I've got about 20 of these folders and all the great artists that I happen to like, which of course are the best of all artists. Watercolor practice, oh boy. Remember when I did this disastrous painting of Ivan Stravinsky here? Well, I wasn't about to be licked. And once I looked back at what I did, it wasn't that bad. I was just being super critical. So I've been doing these little studies right here, and by God, if there's the funny thing about this persistent studying is you never know when these little subtle breakthroughs are going to come through. Sometimes they're not subtle, sometimes they're big. And these were such things for me right here. And now that I've made the breakthrough, I can either completely forget about how I did it and never be able to do it again, or I can keep practicing it and hopefully regain what I remember as the breakthrough and become a better artist. Animation. Hey, we all know about animation and the stuff I've been doing here on my own. What am I inspired by? Well, take a guess. Take a wild guess. These are my cartoons that I grew up on. Every kid in my neighborhood was looking forward to this show. He happened to be called a space ghost, and the artists that worked in his stuff were still very much planted entirely in one central location in LA at the Hanna-Barbera studios. This is back when Hanna-Barbera was still really concerned with quality. And part of the reason is that everything was in one area. There wasn't people scattered all over the globe here like they are now, where part of it is done here, then it's sent off to there, and it comes back to here, and it's all wrong, and then they got to ask for retake after retake. Doesn't it make more sense to have it in one place? Well, I've always thought so, but no one else in the animation industry, who are the most incredible naysayers of all time, because they're indoctrinated with this silly notion that the things that I want to do to make things better for the actual show are impossible. Well, I love that kind of talk, and I love proving them wrong. So this kind of stuff right here shows me the direction that I want to go with my show. And speaking of my show, we have these things called exposure sheets. That doesn't mean we expose ourselves. We expose the drawings here, and they look like this right here. So there's all these old-fashioned levels of things that we no longer need through the computers, which I think is fine. And I label them, date it, and Sundra standing at attention. So this is what these things look like right here. So there's the first drawing I did. And then I did a reverse view, knowing that you would want that in the actual show. And there's the reverse view right there. I saw a drawing by Hal Fawcett that looked like this, and I thought, let me adapt that for one of my layouts for the show. And then this one right here was done basically from my storehouse of knowledge, basically from on my head, in my head, on my own here, which I constantly practice so I don't forget these things. Here's a close-up of the same scene. And then I want to make her move. So I have to make her mouth move and her eyes move. The rest of the head stays the same. And I give her different expressions here that I know that are going to be needed for the actual part when it gets animated. So instead of relying on the animators, I try to learn this on my own. So I've locked it down to a degree that these things are done well. You wouldn't believe how bad some of these Saturday morning cartoons, the mouth cycles are. They don't know the construction of a mouth. So as I pointed out in my smiles earlier, you have to know construction. And with something like a smile especially, is the number one thing that people get wrong all the time. You have to know the mechanics of it. And then you have to memorize how the forms wrap around the essence of what a smile is around the actual teeth of the skull. And then her head goes up a little bit. You know, you see on the good cartoons where their head doesn't stay static. It actually moves a little bit. So this is a slight tilt upward of her head. Cool? Yes, cool. Back in the folder, center peel. This is one of 1 billion layouts that I've done for the show that I'm still hoping to find somebody to produce it with me with. Let's throw that in the floor and get it all dirty. Oh, this is the cool part right here. These are my illustrations that I do on my own for fun that are in different stages of being done. I've always liked Alice. For some reason, she's just this cute little blonde girl. So that was the latest thing I've been doing in her. I didn't want to do a faraway piece where the forms were small. I wanted to bring the head into clear relief here. And this is done in opaque paint. This is done in fluid acrylics, golden fluid acrylics. Golden fluid acrylics, I'm in touch with the golden people all the time. And the reason I do that is because I want to talk to the actual source of the people that make these paints. They tell me how they're made. They give me little samples of new things they come up with. And it's just a good thing to be in touch with the actual people that make the paint that you're involved in here. Some of it is straight watercolor wash, like this stuff back here. But I'm kind of more comfortable being an opaque painter than a transparent painter, so that's why the opaque comes in, and I can control the forms in the edges and the colors just right with certain manipulations of the brush. You guys remember this right here? This is something I did a while ago, and I love the way this turned out. It's mostly it's a combination of opaque and transparent watercolor. And this one turned out, this is one of those pieces you actually look back and get a smile out of, because it wasn't painful. It was just plain fun. Practice, practice. Here's a guy that I practice from all the time. This is N.C. Wyeth. Look at his incredible painting. Look at how simple this bloody thing is. Frazetta got a lot of his knowledge from Wyeth and Howard Pyle, his teacher. Wyeth's teacher is Howard Pyle. But look at all the things you could do that no one else would think of. Look at the massing that's going on here. Everything is spelled out in a perfect dramatic way, which he obviously knows how to paint water in a night scene. And he pulls it off better than anyone I've ever seen. Look, the guys before him, like Sargent, would paint water scenes, and they would be equally dramatic as this right here. But look at all the things you could put in, all these things that aren't there. But it's one big cohesive statement, which I talk about a lot in these live streams. So this is something I'm going to be copying later on to provide my storehouse of knowledge with even more knowledge. Harry Anderson, a guy that I know very well because I met him 4 times. I flew up to Connecticut from Wisconsin, where I was from at the time, and I met good old Harry. This is one of his just great paintings right here. I reverse it to see the effects, and I lighten it to see if I can see tones within tones right here based on my reliable Xerox machine here. Does that look okay in the camera? Of course it does. Yes, of course you do. Hello, my name is Plenty. Yes, of course you are. Oh, there's me and Dino right there. Look at me and Princess right here. That's the girl I married and the girl that reluctantly said yes to me. These are shots taken of us when we were just a few years ago, right? Look at the beauty of this girl right here. She's just the most beautiful thing on the earth. That's a rude girl all the way. So if you see her likeness in Center Peel and Nexus, you might have a clue as to why. The most beautiful girl in the universe. Reference right here. So check this out. This is a painting in progress that I did over about 3 times. I wasn't getting down to basics enough, so I started with the basic silhouette of the color. Here's the reference I worked from. This is upside down. This is Dawn the Keyed. I call her the Keyed because she is a Keyed. When I met her, she was 24. Now she's 34. God, the way the time flies. So from this right here, I'm going to carve out detail in this large form right here. Wish me luck. Cowgirl. Cowgirl. I know Cowgirl. This is something from the series of Cowgirl, a Cowgirl series that I was working on. I just met the girl recently, again. She's changed a little bit since 17. She's now 31. And, or is she 33? One of those years. So this is done in opaque watercolors right here. And I just love the pose, which I modified a little bit. You always want to modify things a little bit. Never mind what the photo tells you. If you see the arm going out in a different direction, like I did with this one right here, that's the way you should finish the illustration. So I like the way this turned out. It's half finished. I've still got to finish the trees and things like that. Just little things to bring it to, the level where I can actually sign my name to it. I love the way this turned out down here. All this, it doesn't look anything like the photo that I worked from. It's just using color for color's sake and adding, what resembles a brick wall right here. And these trees are done in a very blocked out kind of a way, so are the clouds. But what a fun thing. The way I started this right here was I washed the water in the whole area right here and then took my watercolor and just kind of smeared it everywhere, trying to go around some of these areas right here where the clouds are, which is hard for me because I'm not a go-around kind of guy. So there's that. Horses' butts. Well, who can ever get enough of that? This is where I made the little breakthrough right here, doing the buttocks of horses. I want to get that super loose but accurate kind of look in my work. That's what I'm aiming for all the time. And if you look at guys like John Ganem or Walter Biggs, those are the guys that I take after for that quality of carefree slapdash, but actually it's based on incredible amounts of knowledge. So I'm going to finish this up later on, which is going to be a lot of fun. Do we have a final one here? Sorry, guys. It's about to come to an end here. Yeah, I know. I can hear you moaning. I love this sunbloom right here. This was actually started by a guy named Showalter. Charles Showalter. He was part of the Sunbloom studio back in the 40s and 50s, where tons of guys went. It was the place to go to if you wanted to apprentice as an artist in Chicago. And all the guys that I love pretty much started out at this gigantic art studio. It was run by Sunbloom, who did most of this painting right here. But the amazing qualities of this right here are something that I wanted, again, in my storehouse of knowledge. So I began this rather large painting right here, trying to learn what I can from this Sunny right here. And learn I do. I learned so much from this stuff right here. Copying from the masters, digesting from the masters, learning how they do things, and then duplicating it. And then all that stuff goes into the work that I do on my own, my original illustrations. And it's just a wonderful way to go about learning things. It's something I've always done just out of my natural instincts of how to learn. It's not finished yet, but you can see the chalk lines I've drawn in here to modify the thing to make it look just better, make it look right. And they don't necessarily are things in the actual thing that I'm working from right here. Slowly but surely, I'll be able to finish this right here. I think the best part about it is this area right here because it's nice and loose. It's not hammered with intense detail, which I don't like. I like to have an equal amount of academic know-how and looseness. And that's the way that I want to work. And the guys that I learned from are all people that do that. So, before we go right here, guys, you know the Christmas is coming up, right? So there's one guy that I happen to know of that is in desperate need of art supplies. We won't mention that person's name, but if you want to help this person buy a few art supplies, because everything we have goes to the mortgage, you can get some really good deals, and I get more paintbrushes. Did I mention I? Never mind, it's not me, it's someone else. So there you go right there. That's how you can contribute to the Dude Art Supply Fund, which is not going to me. The things I live for. Oh, this show right here, well, big shock, right? It's supported by Patreon members. Your hard-earned money goes to helping produce these live streams here that eventually become non-live. So that's how it works, people. You send in your money, and we do great things with your support. Okay, so that's it. We have the non-Steve Rude Art Supply Fund that you could contribute to, which is most appreciated. And then you have all the things I showed you today: the sketchbooks, the charcoals, the famous artist books that I learned from, the folders that I keep of all my favorite artists, watercolor practice. I do watercolor practice because I just think it's so hard. Animation. I practice a lot of stuff with animation. I copy a lot of the stuff from the great artists of the animation business. And the illustrations that you saw are half done, are nearly done, or are just in progress right here. And these are things I wanted to impart to you as a closing word here about how I do what I do. Now, if any of these things are of interest to you, practice these things. The only important thing is to do things which feel good to you and you know you're learning from, because every artist wants to learn a little more every day. That's our compulsion and that's our drive. And that's what makes us want to become better artists. So if you learned anything from this, bravo. Send your thousands of dollars in. Help me buy art supplies and help me keep this Patreon thing going right here, these live streams. So that is going to be it for now. Don't forget your sketchbooks. We'll see you next time for another live stream and more great advice from Steve Rude, the Humble Dude. Take care.